From Gillian Anderson's pregnancy changing the story, to the cigarette-smoking man's fake smokes, I've seen every single spin-off that eerily mirrored real life. Here are 12 weird facts you probably didn't know about the X-Files. 12. The cigarette-smoking man's cigarettes weren't real. When you think of the X-Files, the image of the cigarette-smoking man lurking in shadows, lighting up another smoke, is iconic. He's the show's symbol of corruption and secrecy. But here's the twist. He never actually smoked tobacco on set. Actor William B. Davis was a non-smoker, and he wasn't about to torch his lungs filming take after take. Instead, he puffed on herbal cigarettes. They looked the part, but tasted awful. Davis later joked that smoking them was the worst part of playing the role. And here's where it gets weirder. Those fake smokes accidentally became part of the character's menace. Davis would puff just a little differently because the taste was so harsh. That subtle smile made his character look even more sinister. Fans assumed it was a deliberate acting choice, but it was really just him enduring the bitter aftertaste. Finally, the herbal cigarettes became as much a part of the smoking man as his gravelly voice and icy stare. A detail born out of practicality ended up cementing one of TV's most recognizable villains. 11. The truth is out there. Wasn't the original tagline. Few TV taglines are as burned into pop culture as "the truth is out there." It flashes at the end of every opening credits sequence, haunting you like a whispered secret. But here's the thing, that wasn't the original plan. Early drafts of the show's opener actually used "trust no one," a phrase fans later associated with Mulder and the paranoia running through the series. So why change it? Creator Chris Carter wanted something that captured not just suspicion, but the thrill of pursuit. The X-Files wasn't just about paranoia, it was about Mulder and Scully chasing answers no one else dared to chase. The truth is out there suggested a mystery just beyond reach, waiting to be uncovered. And it worked. It became the show's rallying cry, printed on posters, t-shirts, even becoming a shorthand for conspiracy culture in the 1990s. Fans still debate whether "trust no one" would have given the series a darker, more cynical edge. But in hindsight, the switch feels perfect. One line invites you to be afraid, the other invites you to believe, and that made all the difference. 10. Mulder's apartment number is a geeky Easter egg. If you've ever paused the show and looked closely, you'll notice Mulder's apartment number, 42. At first, it might feel like a random choice, but X-Files fans know better. This was a nerdy Easter egg pulled from Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where 42 is famously described as the answer to life, the universe, and everything. So what's it doing on Mulder's door? It's the perfect wink to Mulder's obsession with finding meaning in the unexplained. For a man who spends his life chasing UFOs, monsters, and conspiracies, it's as if the writers were saying, "Here's the answer, but you're not going to get it that easy." The number became a little in-joke for eagle-eyed fans, appearing in conversations and forums for years. For hardcore sci-fi buffs, it was another reminder that the X-Files wasn't just a spooky thriller, it was a love letter to geek culture. 42 wasn't just a number, it was a signpost that Mulder's search for truth was both cosmic and absurd. And really, could there be a better number for the guy whose basement office motto is, "I want to believe"? 9. Gillian Anderson was almost fired. It's hard to imagine the X-Files without Gillian Anderson as Dana Scully, the skeptical scientist who grounded Mulder's wild theories. But in the early days, Anderson almost didn't make it past season 1. Network executives at Fox thought she looked too young and not glamorous enough to be the female lead in a primetime drama. They wanted someone flashier, closer to a traditional Hollywood type. Chris Carter, though, fought tooth and nail to keep her. He argued that Anderson's seriousness and intelligence were exactly what the role needed. Without her, Scully risked being reduced to just a sidekick or eye candy. Anderson, meanwhile, was under massive pressure, balancing her first big role with skepticism from her own bosses. The payoff? She proved everyone wrong. Scully became a feminist icon, one half of one of TV's greatest duos, and even sparked what's now called the Scully effect, inspiring countless women to pursue careers in science and law enforcement. If Fox had gotten its way, The X-Files might have been just another forgotten 90s paranormal show. Instead, Anderson's presence helped make it a legend. 8. The pilot was filmed in Canada and stayed there. If The X-Files looks moodier, foggier, and somehow spookier than most 90s TV, that's because it wasn't filmed in Los Angeles like most network shows. The pilot was shot in Vancouver, Canada, and producers quickly realized the city was a perfect playground for Mulder and Scully's adventures. Vancouver's forests, rainy streets, and misty landscapes doubled as countless US cities. One week, you'd swear they were in small-town Oregon, the next in the Deep South, all without leaving British Columbia. The choice wasn't just artistic, it was practical. Filming in Canada was cheaper, stretching the budget while making the show look cinematic. But that moody atmosphere? That was a happy accident. The rain and overcast skies became part of the show's DNA, giving The X-Files a texture that Los Angeles sun simply couldn't match. When the show eventually moved to LA for later seasons, fans noticed the difference immediately. Things looked cleaner, brighter, but maybe a little less spooky. Vancouver wasn't just a backdrop, it was part of the show's soul. 7. Darren Morgan's cult favorite episodes. Every TV show has its secret weapon, and for The X-Files, it was writer Darren Morgan. While most of the series leaned into horror, mystery, and conspiracy, Morgan brought something different: surreal comedy. His episodes, like Jose Chung's From Outer Space and Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, broke the mold with quirky humor, meta-storytelling, and unexpected heart. Take Clyde Bruckman, where a psychic who can foresee death bonds with Scully, it earned the show an Emmy. Or Jose Chung, which skewered UFO culture with unreliable narrators and absurdist humor. These weren't just filler episodes, they expanded what The X-Files could be. Morgan's writing also gave fans a break from the relentless darkness. Instead of government conspiracies and gruesome monsters, you got moments that felt both hilarious and strangely profound. His episodes became instant fan favorites, endlessly rewatched and dissected. 6. The Flukeman was played by a writer. One of the creepiest monsters in X-Files history is the Flukeman, a sewer-dwelling parasite with a face that still haunts nightmares. But here's the twist. Under that horrifying rubber suit wasn't a stuntman or a creature actor, it was writer Darren Morgan. Yep, the same guy who penned some of the show's funniest episodes also endured hours of prosthetics to play one of its most disturbing villains. Morgan reportedly hated the experience, spending long hours in the slimy, claustrophobic costume while dunked in murky water. He later admitted it was so miserable that it pushed him to focus more on writing than acting. And yet, that sacrifice paid off. The Fluke Man became one of the show's most unforgettable monsters of the week, often topping fan polls of the creepiest villains. The idea that such a grotesque creation was actually brought to life by a writer makes it even weirder. It's almost like he wrote himself into the mythology. 5. Scully's pregnancy became the plot. Behind-the-scenes life often leaks into the scripts, and nowhere is that clearer than when Gillian Anderson became pregnant during Season 2. Instead of hiding her behind lab coats and filing cabinets, the classic TV trick, the writers folded it into the story, and not just lightly. They used it to fuel one of the show's most important arcs, Scully's abduction. In the series, Scully disappears, later returning with mysterious gaps in her memory and hints of alien experimentation. It was a bold choice, transforming a real-world event into part of the mythology that would haunt her character for years. The storyline also deepened the show's central mystery, linking Scully more directly to the conspiracies she once dismissed. For Anderson, it wasn't easy. She was working grueling hours while pregnant, and her absence from certain episodes was unavoidable. But fans embraced the storyline, and it became a cornerstone of the series. What started as a scheduling necessity ended up changing the entire trajectory of The X-Files. 4. David Duchovny wrote episodes. 2. David Duchovny wasn't just the face of Mulder, he also stepped behind the camera to write and even direct several episodes. Among them were Hollywood AD and The Unnatural, both fan favorites for their humor and warmth. Hollywood AD pokes fun at the very idea of turning Mulder and Scully's lives into a movie, complete with exaggerated Hollywood versions of themselves. It was Duchovny's playful jab at fame, but it also gave fans some of the funniest moments in the series. The Unnatural, on the other hand, was a heartfelt baseball story that explored themes of identity and belonging, far from the usual government conspiracies. What makes these episodes special is that Duchovny's voice comes through. Well, they showed Mulder's softer, quirkier side, while also highlighting Duchovny's own sense of humor. It's a reminder that the cast weren't just performers, they were creators, shaping the world of the X-Files in their own ways. 3. Crew Easter eggs hidden in props. If you think the monsters and sets were full of secrets, you're right, but some of those secrets weren't scripted at all. The X-Files crew loved slipping Easter eggs into props and set design, often sneaking their own names and faces into the background. In certain lab scenes, you'll see jars filled with strange specimens, and if you pause just right, you'll catch crew names scrawled on the labels. Sometimes they'd even sneak photos of themselves into crime scene boards or case files. It was their little way of leaving fingerprints on the show. Most viewers never noticed these details during the original run, but once DVDs and streaming made pausing easier, fans started finding them everywhere. Entire fan threads popped up cataloging these Easter eggs, proving that the crew had just as much fun building the X-Files universe as the writers and actors did. 2. The theme song was an accident. The eerie X-Files theme is instantly recognizable, those echoing notes that feel like they're drifting out of a dark void. But here's the kicker. It was created almost by accident. Composer Mark Snow was experimenting in his studio when he leaned against his keyboard and stumbled on an echo effect. That odd sound became the backbone of the theme. At first, no one was sure if it worked. It wasn't like other TV themes of the era, which tended to be big, orchestral, or bombastic. This one was quiet, minimal, and unsettling. But once paired with the swirling green credits and strange imagery, it clicked. It didn't just set the mood, it told you exactly what kind of show this was going to be. Fans quickly latched onto it, and the theme became so popular, it even cracked the music charts in some countries. For many, those opening notes still trigger goosebumps decades later. The irony is that what sounds like a carefully crafted piece of musical genius actually came from a happy accident. Just like Mulder and Scully stumbling on the truth, Snow stumbled on a sound that would define an entire era of television. 1. The lone gunman predicted 9/11. And finally, the strangest fact of all. In March 2001, a spin-off called The Lone Gunman aired its pilot episode. In it, the trio of conspiracy theorists uncover a shocking government plot. A commercial airliner hijacked and flown toward the World Trade Center. The twist? The government plans to blame it on terrorists as a pretext for war. 6 months later, September 11th happened. Suddenly, what had been written as outlandish fiction looked disturbingly prophetic. Fans, critics, and even conspiracy theorists latched onto the eerie coincidence. How could a spin-off nail such a specific event before it happened? Writers later explained that the idea wasn't supernatural foresight. They'd simply researched military scenarios and stitched together a plausible conspiracy. But the timing made the episode infamous. The Lone Gunman was canceled after 1 season, but its pilot lives on in pop culture history as one of the eeriest predictions ever aired on television. For fans, it's the ultimate example of how the X-Files and its spin-offs blurred the line between fiction and reality. Sometimes, the truth isn't just out there, it's uncomfortably close. So there you have it. 12 strange details that prove the X-Files wasn't just about aliens and monsters. It was about the little quirks and accidents that made the show unforgettable. From fake cigarettes to accidental prophecies, the weirdness wasn't just in the stories, it was baked into the production itself. If you loved this, hit subscribe for more deep dives into cult TV and film. Because the truth may be out there, but the strangest secrets are hiding in plain sight.